Hey everybody, this is Grace. In this video, I'm going to talk about something. I believe I made a video on it early last year, and I'm not sure if I put it on this channel. And maybe I mentioned it more than one. That was last year. So, but I want to stay up front. I'm not a healthcare professional provider. I'm looking at this through the perspective as a social and behavioral scientist, which is what I am. And of course, some of it includes. The video is about basically. Is it? Well, let me go back to last year. Okay, I think I mentioned in a video that I see a lot of things that are going to change because of what's going on in the world today and what's going on back then, and that some things would have to change. And I think many of us have learned, maybe many of us have learned a lot from this about, really, when it comes down to it, hygiene. Okay, I mean, we're having to wear, some of us are mandated, some are not. The points we were, maybe not. Like here in Texas, I think it was twice we were, and now we're not again. But and there's the social distancing, and we've learned. If your head's not in the sand, I think many people have learned. More about how we catch colds, and this is not a cold. This is not a cold, but just that of getting a cold or a flu. Okay, we've learned, and but are we letting it sink in to where it's more of habit? It's just natural. It's just what we do because we don't want to get anything that's really bad or any of it. I mean, it's gross how it happens in the first place. Okay, it could happen more than one way. Or anything else. Like I said, I'm not a healthcare professional. So these are my opinions. Some could say it was wrong. But it's my opinions. And one of the things I mentioned is, I've mentioned different things over time, but I've mentioned, I believe, was that that of just doing regular things like shopping. Okay, just regular things, shopping. I think I mentioned some stuff about work and all that, but just shopping is on my mind today. Okay, well, one of. But let's talk about that again. I had made a video. It was typed on PowerPoint slides. I think I moved it from this channel and put it on a different one. It's part of a story. I made it part of a story after I wrote it. But and I've mentioned this in a video recently. I think more recently, that about some really gross and disgusting habits, it seemed like, that I've seen online on video. There's more than one place to see videos, and it wasn't just those. Okay, it's been more than that. I think I've become much more aware. I'm going to say how I am. I've become so much more aware of that I see it more now. What some people do. And I used to do shopping videos, and that would be one place you may see it if the person wants to be on camera. Some people, they have to have themselves on camera. I mean, they don't have to, but they may want to much of the time, and so they put themselves on camera. And if you really start paying attention, like I mentioned in that video, I don't want to go through all that again. It was tough enough for me to do that video because that's just not what I was raised to do. Just not form of my habit is to talk about gross and disgusting things. By the way, I did make a character, Bess, and it's funny because the character I made from this kind of thing, but she was one that was doing the gross and disgusting behaviors, but she thought it was everybody else that got caught at work. Or other people, it wasn't her, because she was raised right, but she does it too. And making this character, okay, Bess, she's around my age, a little younger, it did make me think, okay, I always do this anyway, but put yourself in that. Are you that good at this? Or, nobody's perfect, but do you watch what you do when you do things like go shopping? And I haven't been shopping for groceries since February of last year, or January, February, I think, somewhere around there. But you know, how careful am I? But see, I've mentioned before in a video that I had developed a habit back in many years ago, because I was allergic to a medication. I had quit counting after I saw 21 healthcare professionals, providers, that did not clue me in, did not know what it was. And I finally figured it out 2.5 years later, after so many healthcare professionals, ERs, and you name it. It was that I was allergic to a medication I was taking. So, really, seriously. But because of that, it was they were calling it contact dermatitis. I saw it just as a rash. It was growing. I mean, just, it was awful. 2.5 years of it, thinking I was dying every day, having a lot of other problems along with it. And they would be called gross and disgusting. Anyway, yeah. So I picked up a habit, and I'm not saying this is the perfect, hygiene, whatever. But you know, like when we have been taught, many of us have, not everybody apparently, like when you cough, like, you know, you're somewhere and you don't have a Kleenex, I don't know how good that is, or tissue paper, whatever. But many of us were taught that in more recent years, by the way, not to cough into your hands. Don't cough into your hands. Just don't just cough or sneeze out, but to do so in the what do you call that? Would you call it the crook of your arm? You know, the other side of your elbow. Preferably if you had a shirt on. But if whatever, you just don't cough out or sneeze, you know, for the rest of the world to pick up whatever gross stuff you have. The rest of the people around you or anybody nearby. Whatever. There's so many, like you can add so many disclaimers. Disclaimer, I am not a healthcare professional provider. There you go. That's going to cover it all. But we were taught that. Well, one of the things that I did whenever I had that rash, and I was so afraid that, I'm not a healthcare professional provider, so I don't know. I didn't know if it was something, because it started on my hands. And I didn't know, like, if I touched my face or something, it would move to my face. You know, that was pretty stupid. I don't really know. But because of it, I learned to, like your collar or your shirt, okay, to take the inside of it, like the inside of the shirt, and whatever, you know, if it was a cough, I didn't have a tissue right then, or, you know, like that. I don't think I ever had to sneeze, or my eye itched or something. And not always in the same spot, okay? Because that would be dirty at that time. You see what I'm saying? It was a weird thing I picked up way back then. And I still do that. I won't, like if I'm, you know, usually I have tissue, okay? But if just an odd situation and I didn't, even when I'm by myself, I've gotten such a habit. But it's not to cough out, whatever it is, or to sneeze, or to, you know, rub your eyes, whatever, or, you know, some people, anyway. So I have to think about that, and I say it's such a habit of mine that I don't see myself doing some of the things that I'm about to mention. Like I said, gross and disgusting. It's probably going to be in the title. So, okay, that was funny. Speaking of which, anytime I come outside, I have a coughing or sneezing fit, and sure enough, the tissue paper was way on the other side of the floor, way on the other side, sitting on the floor. I guess it fell off. But box of tissues. So, habit, I'm telling you, my habit. But anyway, I'm not perfect. I mean, you've probably heard me cough or sneeze or something, you know, and that's just not considered polite. And I lose my voice. That's not my fault. I just do, and I'm already losing my voice. But like I said, talking about these is not my favorite subject, but, you know, as a social and behavioral scientist, when I taught at college and university, I had to teach some things that just weren't my norm to talk about, and this was in, you know, classrooms, okay, like, back then it was STD. I think not long after that it was called STIs and things like that. And the hormones. Yeah, from that perspective, not as a healthcare professional, you see. But anyway, I'm going to get to this in a minute. I will. Always some kind of background. But lately, let's go back to that. Seeing these kind of gross behaviors, and I do wonder, okay, is it so, well, I was talking about, have you watched yourself? What do you do? Like when you hand over a credit card, say at a drive-through restaurant, are you thinking about what you're doing and you're handing over your credit card to them? And if something you had was still on it from somewhere you were just at or something, and then they're handing it back to you, what's on their hands, how particular do you get with it? I know me. I mean, after what happened to me, and they told me that it was triggered by something I had touched on a job, and back those years ago, what turned out to be I was allergic to a medication instead. I definitely started thinking about these things, and with all this since last year, yeah, it's on my mind deeper again. But I try to do things like wash the credit card. I have what are they called? They're actually called it's a Huggies. Oh, what are they called? They're little wet wipes or something, but I think most people use them for their babies. But you can also use it as an adult, or child. Anyway, I try to wipe it, and then I'll hand it to them, and then when they give it back to me, I wipe it before I put it back in my wallet, in my purse. I started picking up doing that. I don't know how long I've been doing that, though. Some will say, "Oh, you're a germaphobe." No, not really. That's a good way. That's one of those ways people, they want to not have to think too much, so they'll point the finger at you when they really should be pointing the finger at themselves. Because these are just, to me, thinking about other people in your society, in your social, world, in just your environment, your community, whatever. You're thinking about somebody besides just yourself. And you should be also included thinking about yourself. What has that person touched? How many people has that person taken credit cards or money from? And are they washing their hands after each one? At first, I know some places were. Yeah, they were required to. You see, and what's being, given from one person to another person, and not just in that. That video, like I mentioned, I had written on PowerPoint about this kind of topic. It was basically about a woman that was acting as though she was acting as though she was very hygienic and that she was superior in this, and that superior. I think that was what it was, superior in a lot of things. And instead, she was doing a live stream, driving down the road, had herself on camera, and she was doing those kind of disgusting things. Then go into a store and stick her hand in, do they call them bins or barrels or whatever? That have, they can have all kinds of products, like little candies that are wrapped, or so many different things that they put in those bins. And she was just going down and putting her whole hand, after she did things like took her mask off, put her this seems very common, putting their pinky in their ear, inside their ear, and just shaking around. The same thing with the nose, and like I mentioned in that video. I mean, really, it was just, and kept doing things like that. Run their hands through their hair. Okay, I'm being tested or whatever. Had to stop for coughing and sneezing again. Yeah. Anyway, where was I? But anyway, she was doing these gross kind of behaviors, and more than one on camera. Okay. Now the other ones I mentioned, when they go and edit, these are people who actually edit their videos, as in looking at the clips, getting them together. Why don't they see that? Oh my freaking goodness, seriously. My eyes are even tearing up now. Too many allergy attack. Oh my goodness. Maybe this is, tell me, see, you're not perfect. I know that I'm not perfect, believe me, I do know. Because really, like I said, this kind of stuff is on my mind. And anyway, when I made that last video about this, I had remembered that I had made that other one last year, I think. And, it's kind of sad. What I'm wondering also is, since when did it become socially acceptable that a person, while editing or going back and looking at it, says, okay, I'm just going to leave it like that? That they're actually showing, like I said, I don't think intentional, it's just habit. Why would anybody do that intentionally? But, well, you never know. Or the person who might not be the person who's doing it that is editing the video, too. You got to remember that. And maybe trying to humiliate that other person, really. This is a issue. But we're not perfect. I don't edit. I don't edit like that. I think, even if I've had my cell phone fall and do little twists and everything, I usually just delete it and start over again. But I think one time in this past year, I cut a little bit off of a video, and I really don't know how to do that because I do it all on my cell phone, and it's tiny. It's not a big cell phone. But anyway, I'm not perfect in it, and I don't. But I'm talking about when somebody does this so often, okay, that they're sitting there and they're looking at their videos and editing, cutting this out and putting that in and stuff like that. How can they not see it? And especially, here's the thing I've noticed: when it's almost always within the first clip, not the intro, but within the first clip, they're doing that with their nose that I've mentioned in that gross and disgusting video. Yeah. My goodness. Okay, so what I am talking about right now is not, to me, socially acceptable. All of it, including the allergies. Okay, seriously, this is not how it's been in my life. I really don't talk about that with somebody. But I'm kind of making a point. Well, I hope I'm making a point, or a few. But I do think that, I've said this before, I think we humans have been really stupid, and it's not universal either. That's not global. There are some countries that people have been wearing masks. They can't really social distance, but they wear masks on a regular basis. This is part of their culture. Why can't it be here? What's a big deal? I mean, those people, people in that country, those countries, I think there's more than one, have been doing this for however long, decades. Why is it such a big deal for us, for people here? Drama, Make it political. No, it's medical. But anyway, what was on my mind? I'm jumping all over the place. That's my norm. That is my norm. So I say it in videos. It's my norm. Stream of consciousness norm, something like that. But what's on my mind is this, of seeing yet another video, okay, of someone who, the people who have that really bad habit with their nose. The nose, right now, I don't think that's the safest thing in the world to be doing for others. Like I said, I'm not a healthcare professional or provider, so I put it in that way. But doing that, some people use the back of their hand, bare hand, to rub their nose, and they squeeze on it, and they push and pull and all this stuff, and then they go shopping. Then they hand over a credit card. Yeah. Gross. It's totally gross. But then to see somebody who does that, I've seen more than one. They go shopping, and you're like, they're not wearing masks. And there are people who don't believe that coughing, without any kind of coverage is a bad thing. And it really made me go to this of, are we doing right? Are we still being stupid? People who are going and buying groceries, and I don't like the thought of that somebody else would be buying our groceries, but I have had to do it the last since last year. Shopping for my groceries. I was so wanting to be able to go and do it, and then they had this whole Delta exploded. Yeah, Delta variant exploded. And then there's let me say it wrong again, Lambda. Yeah, but which might even be even worse. Who knows? We don't know yet. Today is July 25th, 2021. But anyway, it made me really think that maybe we're going to have to change, seriously, the way we think, like I said from the beginning, the way we do things like shopping. I mean, I mentioned in some video, this type of person goes and tries on clothes just to try them on. I mean, women especially, isn't that really gross? Pants, shoes for that matter, shirts, this is my opinion, but there's still, I take everything that I buy for myself, I wash it first before I wear everything. If it's some kind of form, of clothing or whatever, yeah. I don't wear it just, no. But have we learned? I mean, if you have the stomach for it, if you listen this far, you must have the stomach for it, maybe. I haven't totally grossed you out, too. But watch some of these shopping videos and see if you see what I see, or the delivery. I'm not saying everybody who does shopping videos, I'm not saying everybody who does deliveries, but you might run across one or two here and there. And they're putting it out there, Or they also people who make items, Usually I haven't seen any men do it. It's most often, every time I've ever seen any of them, it's women. Some make soap, some make candles, some make, let's just focus on the ones that are for hygiene products. And these are the same ones you can see them doing that with their nose. Gross. It's not food, but it's supposed to be like soap or shampoo. And they're doing this with their nose, or their ears, or their mouths, or their eyes, and then they're making the product. This just to me is totally gross and disgusting. Like this video. Totally gross and disgusting topics. I admit to it, But I think it's important for people to start thinking. I'm not here to give anybody advice or anything like that, but I think I'm talking about how I feel and thinking about this. We really need to be more aware, more self-aware, more aware of how we behave. What happened? There was a time when people did, but what has happened? When it's acceptable that somebody's actually sitting there watching their own clips and they're putting in more than one time them doing something, or them doing it, or somebody else is doing it, those kinds of behaviors, and it's acceptable. They think it's okay. It could be habit that they did. They originally, the person actually sneezed or whatever, rubbed their nose, but that of actually seeing that person's doing it and not cutting it out, I don't know. I am a social behavioral scientist. I get it. Some people, they just don't see it. They don't see themselves as doing anything wrong, or even the other person is doing anything wrong. And like I said, some people are trying to humiliate the other person that they're making the video for and of. You see what I'm saying? And there's other reasons. Okay, what's all this going on behind me? Really now. Real life happens in the middle of the video. Maybe not the middle, maybe closer to the end of this video. Yeah, I think I've said much of what I've wanted to say. But I think we need to become more aware. And, I was talking about the groceries. I think we're going to have to change that. Really. Somehow, some way. Because one of the videos that I saw was somebody picking at the fruit and vegetables, squeezing them, touching them, putting in their hands, and then putting them back down and picking up another one. Okay, I think many of us have at least know how, what kind of, you probably heard for years, wash all the fruits and vegetables you can. Wash, and then since wash whatever product you can that you buy at the store, that won't ruin it or whatever. And then they kind of backed off on that, but then they went back for it. Well, no, I only heard one go backwards on that. So maybe it's not what that, but the gross thing that somebody who has those bad habits has been touching the food that's now in my home. It grossed me out, really. Okay, I'm about to have another coughing, sneezing. I can feel it coming on. Gross and disgusting. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up and talk to you on another video. Bye.